Hello and welcome to MAC258 module on ethics, specifically ethics and copywriting. Now, in this module, we're going to look at the ethical and legal aspects of copywriting. I'm just calling this the Do the Right Thing module. And it can be a little daunting because of the nearly endless rules and parameters and regulations to follow. But there is good news. Good news that is that everything you've ever needed to know about ethical copywriting, you probably learned before you even knew how to write. You knew this before kindergarten. And that is because it is three very simple tenets. 1, tell the truth. 2, live up to your promises. And finally, 3, obey the law. Everything else, truly, from a teaching perspective, from a legal, litigious perspective, everything else is simply commentary on these key principles. Now, why is this important? Well, a few, and you can pick and choose here if you like, but I would argue that they are all important. One is you do want to protect the consumer's trust. That is the strongest and sadly the most tenuous bond we as copywriters have, is that trust built between the giver of the message and the receiver of the message. And it has to be guarded. Another point is it is the law of the land, and you want to follow the law of the land. 3, it creates stronger, more defensible claims, meaning whenever you say something, you make a statement, it is either false or true. When you make a claim, it's that the harsh light of whether that's true or not shines very brightly on it. And you want to make sure that what you say is not misleading, that it is absolutely true. And if you're doing well and you're on your game, you've made it true and very interesting. And that is one of the tricks of being a good copywriter, or certainly a more effective copywriter. And then last but certainly not least, it's important to do the right thing. It's a defense against the abuse of power. We need to hold ourselves and we need to hold others accountable for their truths and their lies. And now is as good as any time to make sure that happens. If it seems overwhelming, it's all right. You don't have to be a lawyer to do the right thing. You just have to be you. So let's have a brief look at these 3 basic principles. First, tell the truth. Think of this as every claim needs a support. Now, sort of alluded to this before, the secret ingredient to any great brand is that trust, consumer trust. It may not seem like a secret, but copywriters need to protect it like it is. Now, this claim could be easy enough, like the Tesla model goes from 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, or NyQuil relieves your cold symptoms. Or it could be a nonverbal claim, like a product demonstration, like you see how absorbent a diaper is on a video ad. So you need to tread carefully there, because you don't want to mislead, and you don't want to set yourself up, or your client, or whoever you're representing, you don't want to expose them to lawsuits or, again, eroding the consumer trust. So you need support. Now, one of the ways you can make sure you are telling the truth is to word your claims carefully and creatively. Avoid those totality claims, those claims that simply don't allow for the exception, or they're impossible to keep, or they assume the competition in the world around them is static and won't react to your claim. And look to move from totality claims to what we call strong hedges, which is actually makes your claims more accurate, more true. So, for example, if you say this detergent leaves dishes spotless, well, that's probably not 100% true. There's probably things that will still spot your dishes in spite of whatever dish soap you use. So you can go from spotless to qualifying that to virtually spotless, or instead of all using the word all products do this, you can say most products do this. Instead of saying this product is always first in test, you can say that it leads in tests, which is true. It may not be as definitive, but it is much more defensible. Instead of this prevents cavities, it fights cavities. So it can sometimes be a creative wordplay, but consider how you word your claims, and you will be successful in not only engaging consumers, but not exposing you or the people you work with to any sort of lawsuits. Next, live up to your promises. That means is delivering your literal or implied promises. Now, our duty, writer's duty to the target, to consumers, is to be truthful, not just literally truthful, but implied truth as well. Even a truthful, literally accurate claim can be misleading. And when you mislead, you erode trust. Again, it all comes down to that trust. So what does that mean? Just in a everyday vernacular, don't get sneaky on people. There was a chocolate chip cookie brand back in the day, and they claimed that suddenly their cookies had twice as many chocolate chips as before. And while technically that was true, what they didn't explain was they simply cut their chocolate chips in half, not changing the amount of chocolate at all, but effectively doubling the number of chips. And when that was discovered and called out, this was pre-internet, it was still enough to erode the brand and destroy the consumer trust, all for the short-term gain. You just don't want to mislead people. Now, nearly every political ad does its very best to mislead you, which is a pity. And sometimes they are effective, but they don't. That certainly doesn't make it right. But next time you see a political ad, see if you can see where they're going, and see if you can spot the misleading qualities that they provide. I don't have the heart to play any for you. I'm sorry. And then last but not least, obey the law. Understand not all the finer points of the law, but just the main guidelines. Now, for copywriters, here are just a few general ones. When you use the term new and improved, in many places that means just it can only have been on the market 6 months to a year. Another thing is when you use the word free, it's highly regulated in many parts of commerce, meaning you can't have 2 boxes of spaghetti wrapped together and say 1 box free, but you're charging basically twice the amount as a single box of spaghetti. That's not free. Next, you want to be aware of public policy claims or depictions of illegal, unsafe, or unhealthy practices. There's a chance that if you depict something illegal, you're going to have a problem. You can't have children taking children's medicine unsupervised. You can't claim that toothpaste takes the place of checkups. That is patently false, and it's against public policy, etc. Next is respect personal and property rights. Individuals have a right to control how their names and their likenesses are used for commercial purposes. So even lookalikes, you need to respect those property rights, and also protect special interest groups and interests, especially children, environmental groups, medical recommendations, endorsements. Okay, so just a few guidelines. Again, you don't have to be a lawyer, but you just have to use common sense and be somewhat aware of what the policy is in the world or the land that you live in. So, in summary, you truly have learned the essentials by age 7 at least, if not before, to be an ethical copywriter. Tell the truth, live up to all of your promises, and finally, obey the law. Thank you very much.